Recording in progress. Got it. So yeah, we were saying, yeah, I'm a prisoner in my own country. Even if I do end up taking like a traditional, well, it's for YouTube, so I call it the sacrament, obviously for OPSEC. It's like, it's not the point. It's the fucking, it's, by the way, I can swear in the podcast, right?
Yes.
I try to stay away from swearing, but, you know, like just...
Sometimes I've been trying to do that too.
Yeah,
especially as you get older.
Yeah.
I've been trying to like be more, it's like more polite and more sociable.
Yeah.
To like not curse as much, but I'm just a swearing fucking bastard. I mean, like my mom cussed around me my whole life.
My parents too, yeah.
Yeah, dude.
They didn't even try to hide it.
No, dude, my mom's like really bad actually. She's like cusses her fucking ass off. Yeah. And she's, you know, she's her mom is Sicilian. So
there you go.
Yeah, dude, they fucking are just like real cursing drunks. Fucking.
So you're a quarter paisan. That's nice.
Yeah, I know you're a fellow Italian.
Oh yeah.
Well, you got a very Italian name.
Oh yeah, but it's funny because like I'm half Calabrese and half Marchigian, so it's like,
what the fuck is that?
Well, yeah, it's like central. Mark is like near Rome, basically. It's like it's where my father's side comes from. But my mother's side, it's like more predominant. I'm Calabrese, which is like hardcore Southern Italian. So, but my mother, it's funny actually because like for the past, I would say since after World War I, on my mother's side, the majority of my family lived in Brazil and Sao Paulo. So they're kind of European expats to Brazil. And so my mother was like born and raised in Brazil. So yeah, it's very, yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, so, but like, of course, personality wise, the Calabrese, like the Southern Italian, like, yeah, ways out. But like I was saying, just, it doesn't, even if it's a Pyrrhic sort of victory, if you end up receiving one of these sacraments, it's just, I think the sort of the gravity of what's been going on for the past 2 years, it's like, it even make a difference. And I really think that people have, they have to double down on a lot of the social programming because either they question their decision or there is like the reality that there's straight up maliciousness because it's the first time ever that people have a sense of like social purpose, which you were talking about in your last stream actually, which was great, by the way. It was like I was saying
with Jeff Schellenberger and Adam.
Yeah, and two great friends of mine. The one pod I did, actually both of them actually.
Yeah, Adam, you've been on both their pods.
Yeah, the one with, they're both really great. I really love Jeffrey's because at the time there was like sort of this, I think because of the Toad McKinley video, the Toad McKino video, Francis E. Deck, there was sort of like a renewed interest at the time. So we did like really great, like focused, hardcore episode on Francis E. Deck. And of course with Adam, it's always a blast because he's a really great friend of mine. And whenever we start jabbing about, especially the work of art, it's really great. No, I was saying, like, yeah, I'm basically a prisoner here in Canada. I would love to visit. I have a lot of friends in New York I made through Twitter and through Break the Rules. And it's just, it's, you know, it's probably, it's not as bad as Germany or Australia, of course, but it just, it is, I think in a few years, I mean, I'm hopeful that maybe in a few years, like, to take the Eugipius pill, it's like, hopefully maybe we'll sort of breeze by this and we'll look at the decisions we've made against our fellow man. Who knows? But or maybe it'll just go on forever and we'll live in this neoliberal nightmare forever. So fuck.
No, yeah, that would have been cool if you came to the NPC Film Fest thing. There were Curtis Yarvin was there. A lot of mutual friends of ours. Barrett was there. Who else was Jeff Schellenberger was there.
Nice. Surprised Lev didn't go, my co-host. He could have went.
Yeah, isn't he in New York?
Oh yeah, he goes to a lot of those.
I'm surprised he wasn't there.
Oh yeah,
or maybe he was there. I didn't see him. I would have recognized him though.
Yeah, For those who don't know, maybe people that do, but I'm we're referring to Break the Rules podcast. So I
Or
guess
yeah,
that's
yeah.
like the
Go ahead and
introduction.
we don't really do this that much, but
Uh,
go ahead and introduce yourself.
well, I'm Geo. Oh God, it's so awkward when he's introduced. Artist, writer. I started as a writer, but then I started like sharing my art publicly. Um, then yeah, podcaster. I I do my own YouTube channel, but I'm mostly known for Break the Rules podcast. Before I was mostly known for my writing, actually, but a lot of things have changed in the past, like since 2016 till now, when it comes to the amount of content on, I guess you could say, dissident spaces. And I know like, you asked me before like my sort of origin. I have like, kind of an interesting one that relates to the work of art because the way I started was this was back in I want to say 2014. So this is like before Trump, before everything, right? This is like the days of like the reactionary blogosphere, and I was in grad school at the time. I was in my philosophy MA, and I wrote this essay. It was a critical theory class. I ended up mentioning the at the time very popular video artist that was very popular in like the Chan boards. Nobody TM. I don't know if you remember Nobody TM. He was like the last. I say he. It was like a group of people, but like this was the head editor. Was like the last like true video art. And it had like a different layers of like there was a like sort of surface level political stuff, like look at these freaks and degenerates, whatever, but there was also like a lot of deep sort of layers to, I would say, an odd form of like internet like web 1.1 mysticism in a lot of ways, neoplatonic. So I wrote this essay on the Frankfurt School and about how to like break out of relations of commodification. And I mentioned Nobody TM, and actually there was an email feature at the website. The website's been totally erased. You can only find it through archives, the videos, and on YouTube. So I ended up, and like this was when I was like totally not who I am now. I ended up emailing the editor, and he loved it so much that he put it on the main website. And I was like, man, this is crazy. And then I got contacted by Adam Wallace, if people remember back in the day, Adam Wallace. He had a podcast, the Plebeian podcast, but he ran the website West Coast Reactionaries. And from there, I started writing for them. And from there, I started writing for Thermidor Mag. And Thermidor Magazine was like the premier like there was an attempt to sort of centralize the blogger sphere into a few publications. Like one of them was Social Matter, the other one was Thermidor, and Thermidor, of course, went by the wayside. I'm not going to get into that too much, why that happened, but I became that was sort of like my home for years during the Trump thing, and then as time goes on, you meet people and you sort of, I guess, like ingratiate yourself in a scene, and yeah, and here I am now, and now I'm known mostly for art criticism type of analysis, because that's like that type of stuff, like when it came to like arts and culture, was kind of like limited on like especially like the dissident right on like the internet. Like when all these like weird foreign people went to Twitter, it was sort of like straight up political, like blogger, like reactionary blog stuff, like Moldbug, Nick Land and stuff. And so like the only like arts and culture stuff was, I think, movie reviews, which I've done a few, but there wasn't like a serious attempt at there's only like a few people actually doing this, a serious attempt at like critiquing visual art and things of that nature, and also producing art. Like I can only name a handful of people. There's more people now than there was when I started, but like at the time when it came to artists and like these spheres on Twitter or wherever, there was only really like Owen Cyclops, a few people here and there that were doing like ridiculous fast wave stuff, and me, of course, and a few other people. But then as time goes on, um, there's starting to be there's promise. Put it that way. There's promise. Sorry, I'm just rambling, my friend. I'm just rambling, but yeah, I did it. Yeah.
Hey, hello.
Oh, you there?
Hey, yeah, sorry, my fucking shit has just started fucking up, and also I'm gonna go turn my dryer off, so quit making noise in the background. I'll be right back.
Oh, no problem.
Okay, sorry. Okay, now that I got that fucking figured out, sorry. Fucking now
This, this is live pod. This is what it's like, the grind of
yeah,
being a
goddamn the
podcaster.
fucking tech shit.
Yeah.
Now
So yeah.
I was gonna get into some questions, but go ahead. What were you finishing something that you were
No, I
saying?
was just finishing my intro. I was kind of rambling a bit. But
Uh,
yeah, so I was saying like how there was there was sort of like very few people taking art seriously at the time, and like the like what would you call it, like I guess dissident right Twitter, dissident blog sphere stuff. There was like me, there was like Owen Cyclops, me, a few other people here and there, but like now I think there's starting to be some, like there's way more visual artists and people doing serious stuff than when I started off back in like 2015, 2014. Nowadays,
yeah.
I think like there are more, like for example, I'm going to judge the visual art part of Lomez's passage prize, passage prize, and for
You're
his
gonna be judging
magazine
what?
visual art section. It's Lomez on Twitter. He's going to create this magazine of like arts and culture.
Oh,
Passage,
nice.
yeah, and I'm judging the visual art portion, and I think the short story part, the fiction part, will be judged by Zero HP Lovecraft. The poetry part will be judged by Courtesy Arvin Moldbug,
Oh,
and
nice.
yeah, and I think Ben Braddock is doing the nonfiction essay stuff. He's the judge. So yeah, and that's like so that's pretty exciting actually. Like to get because I'm good friends with ZHP, and it's really I think like there's more if there's more initiatives to do that type of stuff. Like I'm really excited because there's some great people. A lot of them are my friends, so it's going to be kind of hard to choose. But I think it is a good time. I think to truly like hunker down and actually create things because it seems that as much as there was sort of an aesthetic energy with like Trump 2016, it's almost becoming like a yoke over the head of like a lot of people who are like edgy or sought fame at the time, because unfortunately I think like that type of politics is kind of dead for the near future. And not a lot of like truly monumental works. Like there was a few performances, like the Huguenot Divide Us thing. That was unintentionally one of the best like performance art pieces of the previous few decades, but unintentionally. But I think like when it comes down to it, there wasn't. I said this before. I think I actually said this with Adam, believe it or not. I said like it's kind of like we're the hippies, and we just woke up out of the drunken stupor of the '60s, and it's like 1971, and like Richard Nixon's in the White House, and it's like it's over. But what happened during the '70s was a lot of the serious intellectual and like cultural artistic stuff that came about during the '70s. People, if you look at the dates of all like the radical new left stuff, that was mostly in the '70s because the '60s was kind of like the like what would you call it, halcyon antediluvian type of like. So 2016 was like our antediluvian period. Now it's time to get serious, at least I hope. But we have to clear out a lot of dead wood. There's still a lot of dead wood there. We have to clear out. But I'm just rambling actually.
Well, yeah, I didn't you say something that you've been looking into like psychedelic culture and shit?
Oh yeah, that was
Did you want to talk about that?
yeah. That's
Because when I think about the '70s, I'm like really interested in like the they call it like the dope decade, but like
oh yeah.
how influential like drugs and especially psychedelics, were to like politics and culture, especially in the 70s.
Oh yeah,
And it
definitely.
also makes me think about Hunter S. Thompson. He was really popular in the 70s. His book Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas came out in 71. I remember somewhere in the book he's like, yeah, our good Lord and Savior, the year of our Lord and Savior, 1971, and talking about Nixon and shit. And actually, when I met Curtis Yarvin, that was one of the things we were talking about. I met him at a party, and I like pulled up. I was like drunk as fuck, high as fuck, feeling myself, having a good time. And right when it was so funny, man, because like I fucking walk in, and there's like some girl that like they were doing a reading together or whatever, and fucking they were doing a reading later that night. And so like they were talking or whatever. It's this girl named Alicia, shout out, fucking she might come on the pod. But no, she's great. But anyway, so she was talking to Curtis Yarvin, and I'm like, I walk in and like I think I was talking to someone or whatever, and then she's like, yo, Tony, and I turn around and I see her, and I'm like, hey, what's up, Alicia? And and then like she gave me a hug or whatever, and then immediately I realized she's standing there talking to Curtis Yarvin. And I just go, what the fuck? It's Curtis Yarvin, like out loud. And like, I literally just like throw her out of my way. And I'm just like, whoa, fucking yo, Curtis Yarvin, what the fuck? Like, kind of like girling. I'm not even like that much of a fan. It's just, he's just such a like internet figure, subcultural, like internet icon.
I have my criticisms too, but yeah, it's like
I have my criticisms too. I don't fully agree with him. I'm not really that big of a fan of him. It's hard to explain. I'm just like not that big of a fan of him, but
it's what he represents.
He's just such a meme, man. He's just such an iconic fucking internet meme. And like just like he's like forever fucking solidified as an icon, like with those fucking pictures as a meme icon, those pictures of him like in the forest on his laptop with the leather jacket. I was Alicia, she actually said I should be him for Halloween. I was like, yo, who should I be for Halloween? She was like, yo, Curtis Yarvin. I was like, how do I gonna do that? Like, what indicates Curtis Yarvin? She was like a leather jacket with like a laptop. In the, fucking out in the woods. I was like, that would be funny.
This is the meme we've been reduced to, the mimetic power of Curtis Yarvin.
Yeah.
Fucking leather jacket. Oh my god.
Also, fucking at one of those nights he did a reading, he wore like a Che Guevara shirt, which I thought was funny.
That says so much right there.
I know. I even told him. He was like saying that I like came up to him and I like was like, yo, like the Che Guevara shirt is so fucking funny.
Oh,
I was like,
man.
oh yeah, thanks. Like, but anyway, we were talking about Hunter S. Thompson when I first met him, and I was like talking about his concept of like he has this concept of like about like blue goop or whatever, which I think was really interesting and like useful when talking about like neoliberalism and shit.
My friend Alex Kashuta, she calls it the gray goo of reality.
The gray goo?
Yeah, that's like what they're going to turn us into.
Did she fucking get that from him, or
I think she did actually. Yeah. But gray is a better. I get. It's like that idea of like everything solid like melts into air. It's going to be like rootless bombs.
I always loved that fucking quote. Everything that's solid melts into air.
But so you were talking to Curtis about Hunter S. Thompson and dropping.
Yeah, and I was gonna. Yeah, I even asked him. I was like, yo, fucking. How has drugs like influenced your writing and shit? And he was kind of like, oh yeah, it's an interesting question, and then kind of like got sidetracked, and I was like, fuck, I wanted to really kind of know fucking what his answer was to that. Man. But anyway, fucking I was gonna ask you, you call yourself a gonzo philosopher, is that correct?
Yeah, but that has a relation to oh god, okay, so there's like a story behind that, but yeah, go ahead. We're gonna.
Well, I was just gonna ask, what is your story behind that? Because when I think of gonzo, I think of gonzo journalism.
Exactly, yeah.
Gonzo journalism.
Yeah, it's similar. The reason I say that, and I just had to change my handle temporarily on Twitter just to own this like lib who said that I look like which I do actually. What's the handle? I'll have to read this to you. This is amazing. This like this like some person who was mad at the Lippincott guy looked through like people that followed him, is like, this is a strange like bio I don't understand. So this person says a hair, and if you look at my profile picture, a harem pen Gillette in a Santa hat. So it's my Christmas edition of my Avi that my good friend VDR made for me, where I'm surrounded by beautiful multi-ethnic women.
Yeah, I always loved that fucking profile picture. That's so
Yeah.
good.
Harem Gillette in a Santa hat, corpulent and glistening trad calf takes. Oh, amazing. But so Gonzo philosophy, that is because when I was in from undergrad to when I went to my grad program, or the first one, I had a really influential professor, and he is like truly one of the last great like minds who is obscure, who like is an old school type of professor. And he was born and raised in India, but when he came to America, he studied under Kalupahana in Hawaii, who was like the big wig of like Far East studies in terms of like Buddhist studies in university. Because I was privileged enough to go to a university quite close to me, that is like one of the only ones that had, up until, because of course, like all universities in North America, they're sort of decimating the humanities, and my philosophy program is, sadly to say, it's no more. It's like a general humanities thing. But they were the only philosophy program department to have a full master's in continental and Eastern philosophy, because basically my university was like started by a bunch of hippies that like couldn't get jobs anywhere. So he had this blog, you can still find it actually if you Google it, called Gonzo Philosophy. And he only wrote like 5 blog posts, and it was like, they just blow you away pretty much. And so that became like my moniker. I explained it to a few people, but I've never actually like publicly explained that tag on my bio, Gonzo Philosophy. So you're the first.
Oh, nice. Okay,
Yeah.
first on the DrugCultGang podcast. Nice.
Yeah. So basically, it's kind of like taking that Hunter S. Thompson method of like gonzo journalism, which is like you yourself are narrativizing the subject very intimately. That's sort of like the idea he had on the blog behind it. And so I kind of like took up the mantle, because unfortunately, like professors like that are like, they don't exist anymore, especially in philosophy. My God, if you like go to a North American philosophy, first of all, I say, please do not go to a North American philosophy department. Please, just run. Just don't, like, it's not good. It is not good. They don't teach
seems like
anything
a giant
anymore.
waste of money to me.
They don't teach. The thing is, like, all of the cutting edge stuff that like a bunch of like Twitter schizos, that like a bunch of like grad students on like Facebook and Twitter, like they read like the latest publication from Urbanomic or Varso Books or whatever, like Varso Cells. That stuff is being taught in like literary departments. They're not being taught in philosophy. If you go to a North American philosophy department, you're gonna get like analytic stuff. You're gonna get maybe the classics like Plato, like pre-Socratics. You're not even gonna get Nietzsche. These people do not even teach you Nietzsche. That's how bad it is. So if you go to some kind of like studies department, then like good luck. You're never gonna get a job anyways. That's why I didn't do a PhD. I have 2 MAs, but I didn't do a PhD because frankly you have to know people, and the people I went to school with, I was taught by like great high quality professors, but they were just like sufficiently like out of the loop when it comes to like the grit in academia. That's the price you pay for going to a university that's smaller, that has more interesting people teaching more interesting shit, is that the price you pay is you can't go anywhere else because basically you're marked. You're like, you're a weirdo. That's it. You know? So I hate to say it, but it's true. And plus, like, all humanities departments are getting murdered anyways in the universities, because the university, they've come up with a scheme where they just want to become either finishing schools for corporations, or they're like, you know, rich kids that can to like waste their time and money by doing like studies programs, which is like, you know, the stereotypical like SJW, I guess you could say stuff, like, you know, whatever. Like it's the stereotypical like epic, you know, Ben Shapiro, truth and logic bomb, you know, college feminist professor gets owned by Ben Shapiro. That type of stuff. It's like there's either that or there's like the corporatocracy. Like you become trained to be HR manager or whatever. Like the Water University is not doing too well. And a few years ago, I wasn't black pilled, but now I'm sort of like coming around to the idea that universities, you know, they deserve their fate. Put it that way. But
I think they're going to be completely gone in like 5 years from now. Well, and that's another thing too, because it's like the only thing. It's like, okay, maybe you go to college because like you can meet like-minded people that are also into what you're into, and the networking and shit. Like that's like the only fucking reason. Because like think about it. So back in the day, like in the 80s, you can go to college, and what's the main reason, or what's one of the main things you get is you get access to the libraries and the books. Now that we have the internet and you can basically find any fucking book you want on the internet for free, there's really no reason to go to college anymore. It's kind of completely useless at this point in the post-internet age.
There's a lot of there's a lot of actual like when you get to the graduate level beyond like an MA, there's a lot of like impersonal type of stuff that goes into like who is selected for a PhD to begin with. I know like Justin Murphy, he talks about this. We were talking about this. It's like you have to know people and you have to do what they want you to do. There's this great channel on YouTube who actually, if you really want to understand like complex philosophic texts, there's two people on YouTube. One is John David Ebert. The other one is Chad Haig, my good friend Chad Haig. He was in a grad program in philosophy, but then he dropped out to live in India, in southern India. And he does great videos, but he was talking about basically the grift, how university is filled with a bunch of midwits that like don't know what they're talking about because they haven't actually read the texts. And the people that are in there, like Justin Murphy was saying, they're largely like upper middle class, like they know people, and they do it because they're kind of like the stereotype of the upper middle class Phil son, Phil daughter. And it's like, if you have to go, like the thing is, what conservatives in particular would like, I guess you would call them contards, get wrong about it is that it's not like they do right censor people. Obviously, there is famous cases, obviously, but it's not like they have to outright ban you or censor you. It's more so that the selection process itself, like they look for a particular type of person that has a particular, like very, I guess you could call it bugman type of like personality and characteristic, a lot of deference. And I had a professor when I was in poli-sci. I had a professor, she was one of the first women in Canada to get a PhD in political theory. First woman in Canada. And she was great. You could look her up, I'm not going to name her, but like, she's like, even though it's like, you know, she's kind of a lib, but she was like old school, like second waiver. She was pretty based, you know. And she told me straight up, Gio, I hate to say it, but, you know, you don't have that personality that they're looking for nowadays. You know,
wow, just straight up told you.
Yeah, and she's like, it's not worth your time at all because, like, honestly, she's like, you're meant to do other things. Don't worry about it. Because at the time when I was a bit younger, I had this thing about, like, I want to be legitimate. And I told Justin Murphy this. I'm like, I want to be legitimate. But as time goes on, it's like, bro, you can't. It's impossible. There is a level of legitimacy that's conferred to people. But at the end of the day, it's like, what you have to go through to even get to a level of where you're publishing and you're kind of respected by your peers, that just doesn't exist anymore. That exists for like a very thin, like Ben Burgess type of person. You know what I mean? So it's like, that just doesn't happen nowadays. And plus, humanities programs are getting like just clipped left and right. Like it's a total slaughterhouse, especially nowadays in the last 2 years with what's going on, where because of the certain, you know, sacrament public health pestilence measures, OPSEC language pestilence. It's like, why pay TAs anymore? I just get the professor to do it, Oh, why do I have to have a dedicated philosophy department? Just put them in with the classics, put them in with history, call it a general humanities, and that's it. Oh, and by the way, when you go into a studies program as a graduate or a general humanities program, good luck finding a job. Good luck. Good luck even passing after 6 years.
Yeah. And that's another thing too, is like how the fuck are you even supposed to like make money off this shit now too? Like that's completely over with. This fucking that I feel like that I think they were also just talking about this on the Red Scare podcast, like about how like all these small colleges are fucking
they're done.
They're done. There's gonna be like fucking like 5 major colleges. And like in
Canada, there is 5 major colleges already.
No shit.
No. There's 3. There's like 4. There's 4. Okay, there's 4. There's U of T. There's McGill. There's UBC. Maybe York University in a good year, but not really. U of T, McGill. That's it. And the little one. See, the brilliance of the Canadian system was back in the day, you could go to a smaller university because the government directly funded everything. In America, it works differently, and because there's no like SATs or whatever, then you could go to I went to a super small university by the standards of U of T, and I had some of the best professors ever, right? Like I had access to, but in America, of course, it's different. Like, you have to go to an Ivy League. But like I think I was listening to a little bit of the Red Scare, and it is true. Like all those like smaller, like even the like ultra woke, like, Oberlin, Vassar, whatever, like they're going to be gone. It's all going to be the top 5. That's going to be like assembly line factory, like education. Oh my God. Oh, it's actually depressing.
One thing I want to talk about too is, I haven't been keeping up on his takes that much, but I think you can explain to the listeners probably better than me. But I know that Curtis Yarvin has some really shit takes about COVID.
Oh,
God. If you could explain that to listeners.
Well, yeah, I think like people, the general mood is that people are starting to turn on him. But basically, his recent, I think read half of it. His recent blog post on Grey Mirror about where he's kind of like, well, I guess I was wrong about things, but not really. Like he basically is kind of like a lot of these like rationalists or post-rats or whatever you want to call them, like from the Less Wrong days, kind of like Richard Hanania, where they sort of like kind of bought into the narrative for personal reasons or whatnot. But the problem is that I think because Curtis sees it as a justification for like for his system, it's kind of like it's a very high-minded way. I don't want to mischaracterize him, of course, but it's a very high-minded way of saying just roll over and rot. And like the moment you start resisting is the moment that you're not thinking like a true Machiavellian, prince. Like you're not thinking in terms of like some kind of like convoluted strategic NRX thing that ends up pulling towards, I would say, the final form of neoliberalism, which I hate to say it. Like I know this is an original critique of Curtis, but it seems that he was very hopeful that a lot of his type of politics, which is, I would say, particular to him, it's not particular of the dissident right, but a certain strain of the NRX people, he saw it as an opportunity to instantiate a lot of his way of thinking around politics in general. But unfortunately, he sort of picks examples. Like I was reading this account today about how like nobody talked about Singapore, and of course Curtis, he like holds Singapore up to be like the they really nipped it in the bud. But I've heard accounts from people where it's like a total nightmare. It's worse than even New Zealand. It's like total nightmare system, and a lot of expats have left Singapore. Don't quote me on this, because apparently there's a total media blackout on it. But yeah, the problem with Curtis is that a lot of the sort of recent pestilence stuff, sort of kind of exposing his inherent, like, kind of, I would say, like, lib tendencies. Because, like, when you start saying stuff like we were talking about the drug stuff, and we'll get into like, my criticisms of like sort of how it's important, but also like some critiques I've formulated of it. You know, he has like the line about how people at Burning Man, they're like the cultural Brahmins, which kind of maybe they are, but the problem is that when you view power as just a neutral property and not something that has a sort of mythopoesis behind it, if you will, when you view power as just like this raw thing, unfortunately, you can sort of, you know, dunk into like a lot of different traps around the expressions of power and saying like, you know, I'm so based in reactionary, I'm going to actually like pull my way towards neoliberalism in the end.
Right.
And then you start like having like logo level of like, well, actually, you know, they're the real Nietzscheans, right? You know that, right? It's like, well, I don't know about that. It's kind of like, it's hard to. I'm trying to think of a more articulate critique, but a lot of like I would say that if you read his essays on the current pestilence, he really sort of shits the bed in a way that's very unique to him, in my opinion. So yeah. Oh man.
Have you been hearing my fucking dryer in the background?
A little bit here. It's like ambient, but it's not that pronounced.
Okay, hold up. I'll give me a second.
Actually, wait. Let me go get some water. Actually.
Okay, sorry, I'm back. Um, one thing I also want to talk about, my friend was just telling me that there was some beef between like Amy Therese and CRK from the Fed Post. Do you know anything about this? Hello? Fuck. Hello?
All right.
Oh, okay. Are you back?
Yeah, I just came
Oh,
to
shit.
get some water.
Okay, yeah, no, fine. Okay, so fucking the audio should be good. But so my one thing I want to talk about too, fucking my friend was just telling me something about there was some kind of beef between, I haven't even looked into it yet, but there was some kind of beef between Amy Therese and CRK from the Fed Post.
Oh yeah, oh yes.
What's going on with that? I have no idea.
I don't know either. I think I wouldn't be shocked if it was over the Kyle Rittenhouse thing. That's probably what it was. Because well, Amy, she's a friend of, well, both of them are friends of mine. God bless them. But, you know.
Yeah, I've had CRK on the podcast. He's cool.
Oh, yeah.
But okay, so you said he was over the Kyle Rittenhouse shit. Is that what you just...
I believe it was, there was a bunch of people, I guess you could consider them like, quote unquote, post left, that they've sort of, like fallen apart or had a falling out. Like I know Mommy Milkers and CRK had a falling out. Amy, I think probably was over the Kyle Rittenhouse thing because I know CRK, he has like, you know, I mean, he's got a contrarian streak in him, so it's sort of like, you know, oh, it doesn't matter, but
he does have a contrarian kind of thing. What exactly are they? I seen that the Perfume Jack was also, that they're also beefing too, which I've had Perfume Jack on my podcast. Like I think they're both cool. You know, I think CRK and Perfume Jack are both cool, but the beef that they had seemed kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, what was it over? I didn't know that they were. I think I heard something they were beefing, but do you know what that was over? Or you were just
that was over the Kyle Rittenhouse shit.
Oh yeah, okay, so that's that's what it was. Yeah, I know, like, it's funny. It's funny because, like, Jack, he's got, like, a pretty huge tolerance for different people. I know he does have his point where he'd be contentious, but, like, for example, when, when everyone had a falling out, when everyone was systematically having a falling out with, the one thinker of ironies, it was just, like, basically me and Jack were the only two up until, like, the very end, where he sort of, like, forced her hand, if you will, where Jack was like, fuck this guy, fuck him, all these airs. For those who don't know what I'm referring to, and I think, I say thinker of ironies, that's, a certain German idealist fan. But no, yeah, I think it is funny. I personally think, like, the post-left thing is kind of like, and I think, like, a lot of them would admit it as well, it's kind of like a ridiculous label that people, like, that are, like, New York City podcasters have attributed to them. And it's just like, for some reason, a lot of these people, like RK, Cole, PSYOP reporter, who else am I thinking of? Like, it was Jack, I think of as well. Scare Girls, especially Amy. Amy, of course, is the queen of this.
Oh yeah.
They just, like, they hate them so much. They, like, this, like, every single day. Because I'm in DMs with some of these people, and it's like, every single day these, like, New York City fucking Chapo people, podcasters, like, they just relentlessly go after. It's like some of these people, these post-left people, they only have like 1,000 followers, but you have, like, Carl Beezer, like, DMing him saying that, oh, well, you live in New York and your dad worked for this. Like, oh, you are PSYOP in these small accounts. You are running ops, gay ops on these small accounts.
No,
It's
yeah,
like,
that's what's crazy is, like, these people have, like, 3 times the following
easily
as these
3
people
times.
that they're, like, obsessed with. Like Carl Bayer or Carl Beezer or whatever his name is.
Who's that one thought that goes in Chapo that had the really creepy photos with the photographer, the Richard guy? What's her name?
Oh my god.
Grace
Jamie.
Jamie Lynn Peck.
Oh my god. That dude, she is awful.
She went out of
She's
her
one
way.
of the worst internet lib
Oh.
thoughts in the world.
Yeah, her and what's her name? I hate her because she helped ruin metal. The Grim Kelly, but no, the Jamie Lynn Peck, like, witch. She, like, she went out of her way to do this, like, schizo thread on our good friend Adam Lair.
Oh no shit.
Because Adam saw her at this, like, signing event or whatever, some art fair.
When did this happen?
This happened like a year or two ago.
No shit. Okay.
And so she, like, went out of her way to do the schizo thread about how Adam Lair is a fascist. I think it was that. It was like he ended up seeing her, but, like, they didn't talk or anything. She just, like, snarled at him, like, growled a bit. And it's just like, these people are obsessed. They're,
oh my god.
Like I understand why they hate Amy. I can understand why they hate Amy, because Amy is a fighter, and Amy, she's like, she admits it. She's deranged. She's hopped up on, Red Bulls, and she goes
Adderall, probably.
And Adderall, yeah, or other things.
Or other things, yeah.
God bless her. God bless her.
God bless her, yeah.
I understand why they hate her. But, like, these... The one... He's a good friend. He's a good mutual of mine. This fucking guy who has a blue check mark, he's, like, some kind of, like, not youth pastor, whatever. He, like, goes out of his way to make fun of a Christmas photo. Is his name PSYOP Respecter on Twitter?
PSYOP Resistor.
PSYOP Resistor.
Yes.
You have this guy.
We follow each other. I'm gonna have him on the pod soon, probably.
Yeah.
He's pretty cool.
He was on the Fed Post recently. I have yet to listen to that one. Because I was listening to your pod. I like to do the research right now.
Oh yeah.
But this guy with he's a lower level Chapo Janny. This not the blue check, but this other guy. he goes out of his way, I think with more followers than him, to like edit and Photoshop like his mother to find the perfect nude photo that could match the body type of his mother. Like, this is how obsessed these people. I'm no word of a lie. This is true. This happened. This guy from some program, AI program or whatever, he like meticulously matched the body type of Cypress Sister's mother in that photo to match a nude model.
Oh my god.
And then put it on and is like, this is what your mother looks like nude. Like, that's just like the tweet. You can find it. This is like
so sick.
Shit.
I don't literally.
This is
I
so,
can't almost. It's like I almost can't believe it, but then I'm like, no, I can believe some sick. People
like,
are so sick.
And then you got to give it to CRK. He dunks on these people every single day, and they like totally hate him. Like,
dude, they hate him.
Oh my god. Well, like it was like that one tweet, like the one. And I have to him more, and unfortunately he left Twitter, but Slav. Like this one guy made fun of him because he lost his job for the sacrament mandate, and like you have like verified blue. Like one guy was attached to like some Washington organization, because like when I saw this I was like obsessed, right? Because Slav is my friend, and this guy was attached to a Washington think tank. And he's like, oh thank God, the one less more annoying person at the office. It's like,
oh
my God. It's crazy. It's like how like but it goes to show that even like smaller accounts can make a difference. Like
totally.
Like me and Default Friend, we were talking. I had this I was on After the Orgy podcast. It was a really great podcast. We were talking about incels and all that, and we mentioned Rad Femme Hitler, and Default Friend, she's like, it's crazy because I know these like tech people in Miami. They're talking about Rad Femme Hitler tweets. It's like, how do these people know about Rad Femme? She only has 3,000 followers. How do these people know about Rad Femme Hitler?
Oh, dude, you'd be surprised. Like, dude, we have people that are like obsessed with our podcast, and they're like literally actors and like big time fucking, like literally people who like fucking, are like politicians and shit. And I'm just like, you guys, and like grown ass people, not let alone grown ass people that have like serious jobs. And I'm like, why are you guys so obsessed with us? It's insane.
Please buy my prints, please, God, please.
Yeah, right.
Please, yeah, it's like,
go
hey, if
to
you're
our
here,
Patreon. Go to our Patreon.
Go to our Patreon.
No, yeah, I literally have like haters. They will literally like spend the $5 to listen to the episodes, and I'm just like, it's unbelievable that these people are willing to spend their own money. Well, I guess a lot of them are pretty wealthy, so $5.
Oh, it's nothing to them.
Yeah,
$5 for a hate watch. I mean, that's probably nothing. I mean,
yeah, they get off so hard on.
Well, if you're Hassan Piker, you're paying thousands for underage Uzbeki girls in Turkey. So.
Oh yeah, what's up? What's up with that?
He I'm not actually joking. He was on stream where because of course his whole life is on.
His whole fucking life. It's so scary.
He's eating. His mother makes him. He admitted to this popular brothel.
Oh yes, that was so fucking weird.
Yeah,
that was so uncanny and weird. Yeah, I have sex with the workers. I support the workers.
This same place. It's funny because.
Didn't they get in trouble for sex trafficking? That same brothel, yeah. Huge bust.
Oh my god! Before he left Twitter, Slav actually had a viral tweet. He linked to the article where this, not even a year ago, this same place was busted for underage sex workers.
Whoa, underage?
Some as young as 13.
No.
Yes.
Get the fuck out of here.
I had no word of a lie. It's
no
true.
Shit.
So,
I didn't know about the underage shit. That is fucking insane.
Well, underage plus sex trafficking, because there was various links to like Turkish mafia people, But
Turkish Mafia.
yeah.
Whoa, that sounds pretty crazy. Turkish Mafia.
Well, it's funny because like here in Canada and my part of Ontario, all the strip joints are owned by Serbian mafia. But like so people were making a joke off of it because like again, like it's only like not to say that Hassan Piker has frequented underage girls, but of course you can never put it past the dude.
Yeah,
Because
right.
in my opinion, if you have, not to say that like all people, but if you have like a Twitch audience that is like consistent with your
Mostly
kids,
kids. Yeah,
it's kind of
they're
creepy.
mostly. It is very creepy. He's like 30 years old.
If you're over the age of 30, like if you're a Minecraft streamer, like I was talking about this to Turkey Tom. If you're a Minecraft streamer and you're over the age of 30 and you have an audience of 12-year-olds, that's kind of creepy. I don't know. That's kind of sus.
You can't get past it. Yeah, no, dude is 30 years old.
Yeah.
He has 1,600,000 followers.
Yeah.
And it's like how many of those
are kids, literal kids.
And like let alone like okay, maybe they're like 17-year-old girls or whatever.
Yeah.
No, like literally 12 and 13-year-olds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like very little kids.
We're getting into the Dylan Volk Chaggett number of like 18 with a 13-year-old. It's kind of like, oh, but a 30-year-old with a bunch of little kids in his audience, I don't know. That's kind of,
oh, dude,
yeah.
Because there's no way there's no way like
there's no
the majority of them are like adults.
No,
you know what I mean?
On Twitch, come on.
Yeah, exactly. Twitch. You didn't watch some man sit there and play video games. Have to be like 12.
Like boomers will like go to Apple Podcasts, they'll listen to that, but Twitch, come on. Like,
dude, that was so weird how he just said that on stream so nonchalantly.
Like no shame whatsoever.
No shame whatsoever.
Because that's like the weird thing, I think, and other people like Default Friend even pointed this out. Like, it's weird how the sort of Chapo like ironist left, they've sort of become enamored by like the third wave sex work is real work. But I think in terms of an abstraction, it's a very powerful like, well, these women are workers and you have to respect them, blah blah. Instead of like the honest and decent and godly thing, which is like, well, maybe we should live in a society that prevents women having to make a choice to begin with, right? So
yeah, exactly.
I think when it comes to the abstraction of sex work, they're like, yeah, okay, we're on board. It's owning the chuds who are like some like picture of like religious rape, Jesus camp, But when it comes to the reality of like one of their own, like bold-faced admitting, yeah, I frequent sex workers, prosties or whatever. What does BAP call them, prosties? Prosties. Oh, I've been prosties in Kiev. But when you like admit to it, that turns. Then you see people, even like leftists, like even like people who are like trying to vibe with them, chew on head, or kind of like, oh, that's not. It's kind of like
yikes.
It's yikes because it admits that the sort of like caricature of the leftist like male feminists, that they're actually doing it as like a predatory thing.
Exactly. It's like you're admitting that this is who they say you are. You're exactly who they say you are.
And plus, sorry to cut you off.
Sorry. No, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say like the fact that also not to like be pearl clutchy, but it's like, yeah, you have an audience probably made up of like a lot of kids, and you have this sort of like immature anarchity, like punk, like punk. Prosty,
God, the way he
like,
dresses.
Oh yeah, I go to prosties and I do this. It's like, it's so crazy. Like when you get to a certain age, it's like, is that really the example? Like if you had like, I don't know, let's say, I shudder to think of a positive example. But if you did have like, say, a leftist who was trying seriously to like be like, hey kids, health inequality is a serious issue. Like, I guess, there's TikTokers or whatever, but like when you have a dude who's like, the typical like Chapo dirtbag, like come town, like, oh, I swear I'm cool. but it's like, yeah, I frequent prosties. Yeah. It's like that kind of it's like kind of like a retrograde, like, you know, 1990s comedy festival type shit. It's like not gonna work nowadays, because nowadays, unfortunately for the dirtbags, they're sort of like, they have too many masters. That's their problem. They have too many masters, and you have a significant portion of their audience who, even though they say like sex work is real work, when it comes to their, like, you know, brave thought leaders, it's kind of like they can't, they sort of can't break the kayfabe. You know, they when you have like, say if like Matt Kreisman were to come out, Cushbomb, and be like, oh yeah, he does, who knows, right? Like, yeah, oh yeah, I freaking prostitutes. It's like,
wouldn't be as cool because he's like not as good looking as Hassan.
That's probably.
And he's like people really forget that Hassan's 30 fucking years old too, because he's like kind of looked at as like this, like, oh, good looking kind of guy or whatever.
Perpetual adolescent. Yeah.
Oh, dude, it's so sick.
People forget too that the Young Turks, they were like trying to I think cross a milestone, but I remember when, like, back in the early YouTube days, they were like actually trying to be like, we're edgy on the outside, but also we want, like, you know, a slot MSNBC, which it's like, I guess they've grown their own empire now. Although I don't know how many hate followers they have, but it's they, at one time they were like a serious contender. Like, they were the model of like what alternative news source was.
Yeah.
I mean, apart from InfoWars, obviously. But like, I remember back in the day, it's so weird how like you would have for people who don't know, for the Zoomers in the audience who doesn't know this, YouTube was way different back in the day. There was way less people, and it was like, you know, the trending bar that nobody cares about, that actually mattered when it came to content. Because people would actually go to like the different categories, and you would go to the news and politics section every single day. This was 2008, 2009. Every single day, you had Young Turks right next to, guess who? Stefan Molyneux.
Oh wow, yeah.
You had, those were the two popular. The Young Turks next to Stefan Molyneux every single day. Back when his channel was StefBot, it was like. Then you have like
OG shit. Holy
OG shit, man. Then you go to like the religion section. You have like the one like oddball Christian. You have like Venom Fang X. And then you have like the new atheists. You had like fucking Fake Sagan, and you had all those guys.
Dude,
oh
atheist YouTube back in the day.
God.
Holy shit.
Oh man.
Degrasse Tyson and fucking Joe Rogan. Like, Joe Rogan put me on so much shit. Actually, I have like a lot of my early like internet culture shit.
Oh man, it is funny. Like when you, it's kind of sad in a way when you go like look at like the like atheist YouTubers that are still around. It's like they've been like hermetically sealed in like that 2007 template of content. It's hilarious. I mean, it's but yeah, so well, we got off topic. We were gonna talk about the drug thing, but like, yeah, Hassan Piker, like the dirtbag left. It's really crazy how they have these podcast empires, but they like empires.
That's a good word for it.
But like they go into these Twitter slap fights with like it's just, it's surreal to me, because if Break the Rules had the audience
half as many as these people fucking had,
half as many as Chapo, imagine what you could do with that.
I know, right?
You know,
that's what I'm always saying.
Imagine what your podcast, what you could do with that.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what are you doing, Carl Beezer? What the fuck are you doing? You're on Twitter. You're arguing with Cumgraper1488 on Twitter. He's going to get banned another day. You just have to wait a day. He's going to get banned again. He's slamming SIM cards into his phone faster than Amy Therese slams Red Bulls.
Yeah, right. Dude, fuck, that was another thing. Like, Hassan Piker, like if he was younger, it would be so much more acceptable if he was like 21 or some shit.
It would.
You know, like way cooler. Like, okay, like whatever, you're wilding out, you know. Like 30 years old. And then it's like Carl Beezer, like Carl Beezer is like fucking what, like probably like 30 fucking 3 or some shit. The Chapo guys that are all like 33, 32 years old. I also have to remind myself too, because whenever I look and I'm like, bro, why don't we have at least like a quarter of what Chapo makes and Patreon?
I know.
Like, a quarter of what they get. And it's like, well, dude, these guys are fucking like in their 30s, you know.
Well, they're connected as well, like,
and they're hella connected. Yeah. Dude, you know Will Manicker's dad used to like write for the New York Times.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable. And these guys are like supposed to be working class. These guys are supposed to speak for the working class. Kiss my fucking ass.
This guy, like, he obsessively like like Amy's just not gonna see it, I guess. He like screen caps Amy Therese. He's like, well, this is what the Post left does. And he like, it's just like, bro, like your dad used to write for the New York Times.
Yeah.
One of my favorite replies ever. He left Twitter, actually.
Will Maneker?
No, not Will Maneker. This is like a super small account. But he used to be the bane of Theory Twitter. Cave Twitter. Do you remember this account? His name was Literal Kittler. Do you remember this guy? He was like into like critical theory. He would occasionally like troll like the more higher minded people on the dissident right, which is how I know of him. One of them, his most iconic, like, I think it was actually shared by the Dirtbag people. It was like, you know, Graham Harmon, the object oriented
philosopher.
Yeah. I can't stand him, right? I just can't. I can't. I mean, as a Heideggerian, I can't stand him. But so he was talking about some kind of like ephemeral news thing with Trump or something, because he's blocked everybody. Like anybody like Nick Land follows, he's blocked. So I've been blocked by him for years now. And Literal Killer just replied to him like this absolutely like just girly like tweet about like, yeah, Trump did this. And Literal Killer replies, Graham, you're a Heidegger scholar. What are you doing? Like,
yeah.
It's like, bro, what are you doing on Twitter? You're a Heidegger scholar.
Can you imagine being a Heidegger scholar? Fucking like, just trying to read like one book of Heidegger is like fucking like brain melting, and it's like, oh yeah, like you're a Heidegger scholar,
but
then you're fucking around on Twitter.
But you're like Graham Harmon. You are like the guy who helped invent a whole new subset of current contemporary like theory philosophy that only people that subscribe to Urbanomic read. But still, nevertheless, like it's like object-oriented ontology. That was like the hot stuff a year ago or so. But it's like, you know, but yeah, I mean, if I feel like if we talk about these people anymore, we're just gonna get sucked into a black hole. But it is funny. Like I just find it hilarious how like this whole like what's the tactic that they use? They're like, oh, the Red Brown Alliance. It's like, you know, Red Scare. They're talking to Steve Bannon.
Oh, it's so pathetic.
It's like, yeah. The reason the Red Brown. Okay, here's how it worked. Okay, now here's the thing. There is a significant portion of right-wing Twitter that absolutely hates Amy Therese, absolutely hates the Red Scare girls, you know, for different reasons, obviously. Maybe because they're women, who knows? I always get flack on Twitter for being a simp. So they, like, the thing is, though, the reason that these people hang around us is because we're the only people that accept them, really, honestly. Like, that's, the whole Red-Brown Alliance thing is like, okay, I may not agree with you, but you have interesting ideas. You know, I may not agree with you on the other side, right? But that's how it works. It's never like, okay, there could be theoretically some kind of like backing or whatever. Like, I don't know, there's some, you know, Peter Thiel funds everything, I guess. Like, he funds us. In fact, he's funding this podcast right now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But
I actually do know some insider shit about like
the
Fest and like Peter Thiel's people. It's not him directly, but like his people fund some of my like friends and shit and some of the projects they do. It's actually kind of crazy. But go ahead.
Yeah, like no, totally right. Like that's a great point because there is some validity to that. Like I even know people who know people. Like I know some insider shit. Actually, it's kind of crazy. Like my co-host Lev, he knows people because his family worked in media in Russia. But Like,
Oh my God, Lev! I watch her on the show. It's so fucking funny. Like Lev arguing every fucking episode
every
about
episode
about fucking Russia and
about
fucking
Russia and the Jays.
so
You know,
fucking funny.
it's funny because for a long time now, people wanted and I was talking for a bit, like people wanted Keith Woods on the show, but then Keith just, he didn't want to come on for obvious reasons. But and of course he's like, I don't like him. I don't like his Russian video. But it's funny though because a lot of this stuff, like having been a part of these circles and like having interviewed people on BTR and all that, a lot of it's like just organic. Like, okay, there probably is money behind some bigger people, like who knows, right? But the way it works is like if you are like basically disowned by everybody, like is Amy like here's the thing, and I'm totally trying not to be a simp, right? She has a boyfriend anyway, so it's not gonna work. Don't worry about it. Yeah, apparently she does. But the thing with Amy is that I feel really bad because she is like hated by everybody.
Oh yeah.
She is like been disowned like 10 ways to Sunday in the sense that
For the full episode, subscribe to Drug Cult Gang's Patreon account. Link is in the description.